Welcome to our channel. Over the past few days, we have received sad news about the passing of outstanding talents who left a deep mark on the hearts of millions of people. Today's episode is dedicated to their memory, their art, and their contribution that will live on forever. Before we begin, we ask you to support this video, like it as a sign of respect and memory of these amazing people. Thank you for your attention and for being with us to remember these legendary artists. Emily "Sissy" Drinkard was born September 30th, 1933, in Newark, New Jersey, to a large family for whom faith and music played a key role. She was the youngest of 8 children in the Drinkard family, and each of her siblings was raised with a respect for spiritual traditions and a love of church music. Her parents, raised in the Baptist tradition, instilled in their children an understanding of faith, hope, and devotion to God from an early age. In an atmosphere of these values, mixed with warm family support, little Sissy grew up imbued with a strong spiritual foundation that would shape her life. Sissy grew up during difficult times, particularly the Great Depression, when African American families in America faced poverty, hardship, and social injustice. However, even in the midst of struggle and limited resources, faith remained a central pillar in the Drinkard family's life. According to Sissy, these were the moments when music played a crucial role in her development. Church songs, spirituals, and prayers became not just a part of her life, but a real support and source of strength for her. She often talked about how the songs in the Baptist church united everyone, regardless of their social status, and gave a sense of hope. From a young age, Sissy became part of the church choir, where her deep, powerful voice instantly attracted the attention of the congregation. Singing was not just a performance for her, but a way to express her feelings, convey her faith and inner experiences. She said that through music she felt the presence of God and could share this feeling with others. These early performances in church choirs became the foundation of her musical path and laid the foundation for her future success. As the youngest in the family, she saw her older brothers and sisters participating in church services and aspired to follow their example, adding her own special notes to each melody. An integral part of the Drinkards' lives was the church, which became a second home for Sissy and her family. Together with her mother, she spent long hours in prayer and discussion, which not only developed her spirituality, but also formed the basis for her future professional path. Daily prayers and regular attendance at church services instilled in her not only faith, but also humility, perseverance, and an understanding of the need to give of herself to others. For Sissy, music was inseparable from faith, and she sincerely believed that her talent was a gift that should be used to serve people and God. During her school years, Sissy also began to understand that her voice was not only different from others, but also had a magical ability to influence listeners. Recalling her childhood, she said that singing became a form of communication with the world and a way to express everything she felt. Every time she went on stage, be it a church choir or school concerts, she tried to reach the hearts of those listening and feel their emotional response. Later, she noted that these moments were decisive for her desire to dedicate her life to music, and she made a firm decision to use her gift in church choirs and gospel songs. Sissy's life was not only about music, but also about the great responsibility of her own path. She understood that musical talent could be both a gift and a challenge, and even from an early age she sensed that her path would require discipline, hard work, and dedication. From a young age, she cultivated the qualities that would help her become not only an outstanding singer, but also a role model for generations to follow. Over the years, her reputation as a talented vocalist grew, and she began to attract the attention of local bands and church choir directors. It was during these years that the understanding that music could be not just entertainment, but also a powerful means of spiritual influence was formed. In her voice, Full of passion and sincerity, people found comfort, hope, and faith. Sissy believed that musical ministry was her true calling, and she was ready to dedicate her life to this path. In the 1950s, Sissy Houston began a professional music career that would eventually turn her into one of America's most famous gospel singers. She joined the Drinkard Singers, a family group formed by her relatives and consisting of talented siblings. The group quickly gained popularity in the local Newark community and then began performing in major cities, attracting audiences with powerful, moving renditions of gospel and spiritual songs. It was in this group that Sissy honed her skills, learned to control her voice, and began to realize that singing was not just a talent, but also a means to inspire and support people. With the Drinkard Singers, Sissy recorded songs and toured across the United States, and this became her first serious school in the world of professional music. Their repertoire consisted of songs deeply connected to the Christian tradition, with messages of love, faith, and perseverance. These songs resonated with the hearts of people, many of whom were facing hardships and were seeking solace in faith. Sissy's beautiful harmonies and strong, soulful voice set her apart from other performers, and she gradually became one of the ensemble's leading vocalists. In the early 1960s, Sissy made a big decision to go solo, despite the risk and instability that would come with it. She knew she had a unique gift that could not only enrich her life, but also give hope and inspiration to those who listened to her sing. It was a time when African American performers were struggling to gain recognition, and yet Sissy was not afraid of the challenges. Her determination and commitment to her ideals helped her overcome barriers and enter the professional scene, where she could truly blossom. Sissy's solo career quickly gained momentum. She performed gospel and spiritual songs, collaborating with various musical groups and recording at prestigious studios. Over time, she became a guest vocalist for famous artists such as Elvis Presley, Aretha Franklin, and many others. The contribution of her voice to the songs of these artists became iconic. Her powerful vocals added depth and emotion that enriched the music. Sissy earned a reputation as a vocalist who brought not only skill but also soul to each performance. Despite her successful performances with famous musicians, Sissy always remained true to her spiritual calling. She continued to work in the gospel style and believed that through music she conveyed God's love and faith to people. For her, it was not just a job, but an opportunity to give people strength and support, especially in difficult times. The power of her voice, combined with deep Christian values, made her one of the most respected gospel singers of her time. Sissy won love and recognition not only among fans, but also among her colleagues on the stage, who admired her skill and dedication. Sissy Houston was an artist who stayed true to her roots and always believed that her success was a blessing from above for which she should be grateful. Her musical journey served as an example to many, demonstrating the importance of following your principles despite challenges and difficulties. Part 3. Whitney Houston's role as a mentor and mother. Sissy Houston was not only an outstanding singer but also the mother of Whitney Houston, one of the greatest singers of the 20th century. The relationship between mother and daughter was filled with deep affection, but also difficult moments. Sissy saw Whitney's extraordinary talent from childhood and felt that her daughter was destined for the big stage. She put a lot of effort into developing Whitney's vocal abilities, constantly inspiring her to improve and instilling in her the same principles of discipline and hard work that she followed herself. For Sissy, not only her daughter's musical career was important, but also her spiritual development. She always emphasized that true success is possible only when a person remains true to their values and is truly dedicated to their work. While raising Whitney, Sissy often spent time with her, singing and teaching her vocal technique, trying to pass on everything she knew. Her mentorship helped Whitney learn to control her voice and understand the depth and power of music. Sissy emphasized the importance of sincerity and emotional connection with the audience, teaching her daughter to sing so that every note conveyed sincere feelings. It was under her mother's guidance that Whitney learned to achieve vocal mastery that would conquer the world in the future. Sissy helped Whitney reveal her potential, and soon the young singer began performing with her mother, honing her skills on stage and acquiring her first professional skills. However, Sissy's role in Whitney's life went far beyond musical mentorship. She was her daughter's rock and source of spiritual support, especially when life got tough. Despite their love and mutual respect, their relationship was not always easy. Sissy was a strict mother and mentor, often demanding and sometimes harsh in her expectations. She believed that success was only possible with total dedication and constant self-improvement. This strictness and unconditional support helped Whitney in her early years, but as her fame and the pressures of the industry grew, their relationship began to experience difficulties. Sissy worried about her daughter as she watched her rise to the top of the music industry, but also as fame and the stresses of the industry increasingly affected her personal life. She tried to stay close, warning her about the dangers of show business and doing her best to help Whitney maintain balance. Their relationship, full of love and complex emotions, was a mixture of admiration, mutual devotion, and the difficult lessons parents teach their children to keep them from falling. Sissy Houston lived a long and eventful life, filled with both great successes and personal challenges. Despite her age, she remained active, attending events, giving interviews, and participating in musical projects when her health allowed. The loss of her daughter, Whitney Houston, in 2012 was a huge blow to Sissy, which she endured for many years. This tragedy left a deep wound in her, which she dealt with through her faith and the support of her loved ones, continuing to be a symbol of resilience for her family and fans. As the years passed, Sissy's health began to weaken, but her spirit remained strong. She remained an example of resilience and deep religious conviction, often saying that her life and path were entirely in God's hands. She was always surrounded by the support of friends, family, and fans who saw her not only as the mother of a great singer, but also as a woman who dedicated her life to serving people in music. Sissy Houston passed away on October 7, 2024, at the age of 91, surrounded by the warmth and love of her family. Her passing was a significant loss, not only for her loved ones, but also for the many gospel music fans who valued her contributions to the art of music and were inspired by her life example. She left behind a powerful legacy that will live on in the hearts of listeners, and her contributions to music and her life journey remain an inspiration for generations to come. The second star to pass away was Mimi Hines. Mimi Hines, born July 17, 1933 in Vancouver, Canada, was surrounded by an atmosphere of creativity from her childhood. Her interest in music and art manifested itself in her early years. As a little girl, she already imagined herself on stage, where she could sing songs and bring joy to the audience. Although her family had no direct connection to the arts, her talent was obvious to everyone who knew her. Surrounded by the support of her loved ones, Mimi grew up as a dreamy and gifted child who saw her life on stage. At a young age, she left Canada to seek opportunities in the United States, where she had an encounter that changed her life. It was then that she met comedian Phil Ford, who not only became her stage partner but also played an important role in her life. Together, they created a vibrant comedy duo that combined music, humor, and theater. Their performances were a success, and soon they were performing in clubs across the country, winning over audiences with their unique style and harmony. Their first recognition came from their television appearances. Their numbers were both funny and musically rich, and the Ford-Hines duo quickly gained popularity. Mimi had amazing charisma. Her sincerity and energy attracted the attention of the public and brought smiles to the viewers. Mimi Hines's breakthrough came when she appeared on Broadway in the famous musical Funny Girl. She was invited to play the lead role after Barbra Streisand left the show, and Mimi jumped at the opportunity, knowing that it could be the pinnacle of her theatrical career. Her debut was marked by a vibrant and sensitive performance that showed the depth of her talent and her ability to bring genuine emotion to every scene. In the role of Fanny Brice, a complex and multifaceted character, Mimi revealed her potential as a dramatic actress and singer. Her performances on stage made the audience experience all the moments, from comic to tragic, along with her character. Mimi managed to bring something of her own, unique and deep to the image of Fanny, which immediately distinguished her from other actresses. Her strong, expressive voice and ability to convey emotions through song made her performance unforgettable, and critics admired her skill. This role brought her recognition and love from the public, cementing her status as a Broadway star. Mimi became an integral part of the New York theater scene, and Funny Girl forever linked her name with bright, emotional, and bold roles, which her work will be remembered by viewers for many years. After her breakthrough in Funny Girl, Mimi Hines became a favorite of the theater public, her name firmly entrenched in the circle of legendary performers who inspired a new generation of actors and singers. It was not easy to win such love, and although the role of Fanny Brice brought her resounding success, Mimi did not stop there. She continued to improve, taking part in new theater productions that allowed her to reveal different facets of her talent. Her voice, in which one could hear not only strength but also softness, always stood out, attracting attention and admiration. Mimi became a kind of mentor for young artists, showing by her example how important it is to work hard, be dedicated to art, and remain sincere on stage. Her sincere love for theater and music was infectious, and she often shared her knowledge and experience with young colleagues, helping them to comprehend the secrets of the stage and develop their own style. Mimi had incredible vitality and passion for her work, which inspired many around her. She became a true example of professionalism for those who dreamed of repeating her success. In addition to the theater, Mimi was a frequent guest on television and radio, where she was always awaited with delight. In the 1970s and 1980s, she participated in popular shows and programs, which helped her maintain contact with a wide audience. Her participation in these programs showed her versatility and gave viewers the opportunity to see her not only in theatrical images, but also in everyday life. This contact with the public, her charm and sincerity made Mimi close and beloved for a huge number of people who appreciated her talent and openness. For many fans, Mimi became the embodiment of resilience, because despite the difficulties and obstacles that were in her life, she always remained dedicated to her work. No matter what period of her career is remembered, all her roles were filled with genuine feelings, and it was this sincerity that made her special. Mimi was not afraid to experiment and try herself in new roles, which allowed her to remain in demand and popular for many years. Her influence extended far beyond the stage. Mimi often participated in charity concerts and performed in support of various causes, helping to raise funds for those in need and strengthening people's faith in a better future. Her involvement in public life was an extension of her desire to benefit people. As she grew older, Mimi Hines remained true to her art and continued performing whenever her strength and health allowed. Her passion for the stage never faded, and even in her last years, she happily shared her talent and inspiration with her devoted fans. Mimi always said that her life was theater and music, and it was important to her that each of her performances left a mark on the hearts of the audience. Over time, however, her health began to deteriorate. Despite this, she remained resilient and continued to participate in cultural life, supporting young artists and participating in events where she was always greeted with warmth and respect. Mimi valued the attention of the audience and always sought to give more than just a performance. She shared a piece of her soul, reminding everyone that true art comes from the heart. On October 21, 2024, Mimi Hines passed away at the age of 91, leaving behind a profound legacy and many memories for those who saw her on stage and knew her personally. Her passing was a significant loss for the world of theater, but her contribution to the arts will live on in the hearts of audiences and future generations of artists. Mimi Hines will remain a symbol of resilience and dedication to her craft, inspiring creativity and service to the arts for those who follow in her path. The fourth star to pass away was Barbara Dane, an outstanding jazz, blues, and folk singer. Barbara Dane was born on May 12, 1927 in Detroit, Michigan, to a family with a complicated past and strong beliefs. Growing up during the Great Depression, she saw the world around her struggling with injustice and inequality from an early age, which deeply influenced her character and worldview. Dane's family was deeply involved in the labor movement, and conversations about human rights and equality were always a part of her life. These values became the foundation for her future views and creative aspirations, firmly rooted in her as an integral part of her identity. Barbara had an interest in music since childhood, especially blues and jazz, which she found in them a response to her own thoughts and feelings. Listening to recordings of famous musicians of the time, such as Bessie Smith and Louis Armstrong on the radio, Barbara was inspired by their ability to convey emotions and stories through music. This music was not just entertainment, but a real voice of the people, which reflected the joys and pains of society. It was in these sounds that Barbara felt something close to her, and even then she knew that she wanted to be a part of this world. As a teenager, she began singing at amateur events and in small clubs, where her powerful voice and genuine sincerity immediately attracted attention. Her performances were not traditional for the time. She did not try to follow formal rules or imitate any of the famous singers. Her style was individual, rich, with a deep understanding of the material and sincerity that captivated the audience. Barbara often chose songs to perform that told about the lives of ordinary people, and in this way found a response from the audience, whose own experiences were often reflected in her music. Detroit was a cultural hub at the time, and Barbara found herself surrounded by young musicians, artists, and activists who, like her, were full of enthusiasm and a desire to change the world. The influence of these people, their desire for freedom and social justice, further strengthened her determination to use her voice to be heard. She understood that music could be not only her calling, but also a way to express ideas, support the oppressed, and fight for equality. Her early performances were the first steps towards greater recognition, but even in those years she already knew that her music would serve more than just entertainment. Barbara wanted her work to be a true voice for change. In the late 1940s, Barbara Dane moved to San Francisco, a city that became the launching pad for her musical ambitions and civic activism. It was here that her career began to take off, and Barbara found herself in the midst of a community of jazz and blues musicians with whom she shared common ideals. In San Francisco, she quickly became a recognizable figure on the music scene, thanks to her powerful, soulful voice and heartfelt performance. Her style was unique. It combined the vivid expressiveness of the blues with the depth of jazz, adding a special emotional charge to each performance that pierced the listeners to the depths of their souls. Barbara regularly performed at legendary San Francisco clubs such as the Black Hawk and Club Hangover, which attracted jazz and blues lovers from all over the city. Her talent did not go unnoticed, and she soon began to attract the attention of not only the public but also the leading musicians of her time. Among those with whom Barbara collaborated in the early stages were such jazz and blues stars as Louis Armstrong, Memphis Slim, Tennessee Ernie Ford, and Earl Hines. These collaborations not only helped her develop as an artist, but also became an important part of her career, allowing her to hone her skills and deepen her understanding of the music she performed. Barbara had an incredible ability to bring her own emotions and life experiences to each song, which made her performances sincere and real. She understood that blues is music that speaks of pain, of the difficulties of life, but also of hope and overcoming. In each of her performances, you could feel that she was sharing a part of her soul, and her voice sounded with such strength and depth that each audience member felt a connection with her music. The audience admired her ability to turn each song into a living story, where she shared not only the story of the song but also her personal story, making it accessible and understandable to everyone. One of the most significant moments of her career was an invitation to perform at the legendary Village Vanguard in New York City, where she was among the first women to be honored to sing on this prestigious stage. Her concerts attracted the attention of critics, with many noting her deep and soulful style, which set her apart from other performers. Critics called her voice powerful and expressive, capable of conveying a variety of emotions, from bitterness to joy. Barbara's fame quickly spread, and she became known beyond San Francisco, winning the hearts of fans across the country. Barbara's popularity grew, and she began recording albums that combined jazz, blues, and folk. Her first album was a success and solidified her reputation as one of the most unique performers of her time. But for her, it was not only recognition, but also an opportunity to convey her ideas and views on life to a wider audience. Each song was a way for her to talk about important things, about the injustices people face and the need for change. Her songs resonated with those who were looking for support and understanding, and her popularity turned into the voice of the people, sounding from the stage. Barbara Dane became a symbol of her time, an expression of the sentiments and experiences of many people who fought for equality and rights. Her breakthrough on the jazz scene was not just a career success. It was the beginning of a journey where music and activism became one. Barbara Dane was not only a talented singer, but also a powerful activist whose beliefs and actions inspired a generation. In the 1960s, when social and political movements were gaining momentum, Barbara used her voice as a tool to fight for human rights and equality. She often performed at rallies and marches organized by the civil rights movement, and her music became a true anthem for those fighting for justice and change. Her repertoire included songs that spoke of hardship and hope, of struggle and resilience, of rights and freedom, and this made her music especially meaningful and powerful. In 1966, Barbara became the first white woman to perform at the National Convention of SNCC, the most important organization for Black civil rights. This performance was a significant event, highlighting her dedication to the fight for civil rights and her desire for equality, regardless of racial differences. Barbara always believed that music should serve people and support them in difficult times, and her performances in support of the Black civil rights movement were proof of this. She was not afraid to put her career on the line to speak out, and it was important to her that her voice be heard for those who did not have the opportunity to be heard. Barbara was also an outspoken opponent of the Vietnam War. She saw how the war was taking the lives of young people, destroying families and causing suffering not only to Americans but also to the Vietnamese. Her anti-war stance was reflected in her music and social activism. Barbara took part in anti-war marches, performed peace concerts, and was an outspoken critic of government policies. She believed that music could be a powerful tool for changing public opinion and helping people think about what was truly important. For her, art was not just a means of self-expression. It was a weapon with which she fought for peace and justice. In the 1970s, Barbara founded her own independent label, Paradon Records, through which she released records by artists with anti-war and social themes. The label released albums that explored political and social issues such as workers' rights, the fight for equality, and world peace. Paradigm Records became an important platform for artists who shared her views and used their music to express political positions. Barbara not only recorded her own albums but also gave other musicians the opportunity to speak through their songs about the issues that concerned them. Her label became a symbol of independent and honest art aimed at change. Barbara Dane's activism had a great impact on her fans and colleagues. She showed that music can serve as a tool for the fight for rights and freedoms, inspiring people to take action. Barbara not only created inspiring songs, but also actively participated in events where her voice became a support for thousands of people. She was not just a singer, but also a symbol of the era, a woman who dedicated her life to serving truth and justice. Her influence on culture and society remains significant today, and her contribution to music and activism cannot be overestimated. Barbara Dane remained true to her ideals and music until the very end. Despite her age, she continued to perform, support social movements, and inspire people to fight for justice. Even in her old age, her voice retained the same power it had in her youth, and she still performed songs filled with feeling and passion. For Barbara, the stage was not just a place to perform. It was her place where she expressed her thoughts, shared her feelings, and found a response in the hearts of people. Over the years, her contribution to culture has become more and more evident. She has become a legend in the American music scene, a woman who managed to combine art and activism, showing how talent can be used to change the world. Her legacy goes beyond music. Her example inspires us to be true to our beliefs, to speak out and stand up for the truth, even when it goes against public opinion. Barbara showed that music can be more than just entertainment, that it can be a powerful voice for change and social justice. On October 20th, 2024, Barbara Dane passed away at the age of 97. Her death was a great loss for fans of jazz, blues, and folk, as well as for everyone who followed her work. She left behind a priceless legacy: her recordings, her active civic position, and love for people. Barbara became a symbol of perseverance and devotion to her convictions, a person for whom music was a means of expressing spiritual impulses and social responsibility. Barbara Dane's legacy will live on in the hearts of her listeners and future generations of musicians. Her songs, filled with truth and depth, will continue to inspire those seeking honesty and self-expression, and she will be remembered as a woman whose voice spoke out for rights, freedom, and love for people. Barbara will forever be remembered as an artist and activist who was not afraid to go against the grain and use her art for the good of society.